Good morning, BBH. You would like trains. Good morning, Alex. They did, honestly. 10 out of 10, 5-star reviews on Yelp from everyone. They all really took the day off, and God knows they needed it. No, Sarah G, feel better. Happy Monday, but bad with the flu. No. Fuck that shit. Alrighty. I'm joined by a slew of production members. Oh, Jesus. Okay. There are two people backstage who will be watching in real time but will not be joining us on screen as of right now. But joining me is Ashley and Lee.
Hi.
Hello.
And then Josh and Kadri are in the backstage sending many kisses and wishes. There he is. There's Kadri. There he is. Okay. Maybe they'll be on. Oh, the balloons. There it is. Okay. Hi, Stefagan. Because we didn't do this at the last tea, which technically was an eviction episode. So we did not do our tradition. So before we just talk about anything else, we have to do winner picks. We won't be doing eviction picks because we're already so far into the round. Who's your winner pick right now?
A woman. Let's go with that. That's the first step.
Megan.
I agree. My vote's for Megan right now. Josh also says Megan. I just think Megan's
I'll go Megs.
I think Megs is a good pick right now too.
And Kadri's sticking with Liv.
The thing is I said yesterday, and some people gave me some fuss about it. I said that I saw some winner potential in Michael yesterday. I see some real longevity in Michael. I don't know about the winner or whatever. Megs and Michael for me are really interesting though, because they are not really on a side. I mean, they kind of are on sides, but they're not really on sides. We'll talk about that, but I'm a little worried about that more so than I'm happy. I mean, happy for long term, but I don't know. I think Megan is a really good pick though.
Yeah, I mean, Megan's insulated on the pro Rizzo side, but she does have some connections on the other side in Erica and Preston if those
and
continue
Sarah.
to exist.
Ish.
You know,
Sarah, that's the problem.
I think the thing that Megan has, and this is not like shade against other people, but it kind of is on how some of these people have been playing with each other, not them as people. But you're really starting to get to a point where people are starting to think about how you made them feel. And I think that if this is indicative of like jury management, Megan is already playing that game. So
yeah, she's definitely hearing people out, but being honest with people. And that's always like Liv came back and had no ill will with Megan. Would Liv still probably nominate Megan as like a renom? Yeah, probably. But Liv at least feels better with Megan than she does with, dare I say, someone like Lamont, who she had a great relationship coming into the prior round with. So I think she's doing a great job of still like managing the people not on her side. I think Megs is in a great spot for now.
Mm-hmm.
She's on the pro Rizzo side. She's not necessarily a priority over there, but she obviously has Erica and Sarah on the other side. And when these sides continue to war, eventually the people that are kind of on this pro Liv side are going to need more workers on their side. So they're going to need people to come over. And I see Megs and Megan being people that are like, hey, like Erica and Sarah are putting in a good word for Megs. Preston's probably putting in a good word for Megan, even though he knows that Megan doesn't have his best interest. But like if they need somebody, Preston is probably suggesting Megan, assuming, he lives this round. So like, I think both are good picks. I mean, Liv's not a bad pick. Liv is, dare I say, she makes to the end, she wins.
Yes.
People
live for the story, but the person with winner equity at this point, which I can't even believe we're talking about that, but the person with like clear winner equity that has the biggest uphill battle is Liv.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
I mean,
people
we've
have
been
said
talking about this. Like, she's only cast one vote, and that's not against her. But like, these people are coming at her every round. She does not get to breathe.
no, and she's still here. Everything is working out exactly how it needs to in the sense of her surviving. Like, she didn't get what she wanted with Preston in round one, but he makes a huge comeback duel to come back. She's then on the block round two. Had Preston would have saved her with the veto. He was second place in that veto, so like she could have flopped it and been safe because of the work she did with Preston. But she won the veto on her own, making her safe in round two, allowing her to cast her only vote of the round. Then she rises into power. Doesn't have a great HOH. Love her to death. Did not have a great HOH. Made some mistakes, and those mistakes led to her being on the block again with a different HOH. Her number one then leaves her on the block, and she manages to stay in a 5-5 tiebreak vote with the HOH casting the tiebreak vote, where she fought like hell to save him in round one and didn't get what she wanted. But that relationship paid dividends then. Then she got the key that she needed when one of her like arch nemesis wins HOH this round. Like, the storyline's amazing. She's not playing best. She's not in the greatest position, but like, she can win comp. She's proven it. She has some allies who can also win comp. So she's in a position where this side can like continue to win some comps if they can. I mean, train of thought, they just misplayed, and we'll get to it. But I think Liv's in a position where she win some comps and get a little bit further and see if maybe some way, somehow she finds herself in a better position in the house. The game can change. So like, I'm not down and out on her. She's still in, and that's all that matters. Like,
so this is the one thing that I have to say today. I hate that Preston is still number one in Olivia's trust rankings. I saw it, and when I say like my blood just began to boil, this is her putting so much faith in Preston is going to be the thorn in her flesh. And I don't want to see it happen, but I know it's going to happen if she continues to almost blindly trust this man.
But who else has stood up for her like he has?
yeah, like she really doesn't have much.
She doesn't have a lot of options.
He does a poor job of doing that.
Well,
and they literally got lucky that she is still here.
No, I agree.
They did. It's hard.
It was for Erica literally shaking her ass in front of freaking Luis. Like, Liv is we're still here with Rizzo, the Riz God.
I agree a lot with what you're saying. Obviously, the results-oriented side will say, well, Preston got his way. I think partially probably what the trust comes in is like, maybe she's not going to trust her game life in his hands as much anymore. But you have to feel for someone who is literally public enemy number one because of how hard they rallied for you. And I think that while you may not trust it, maybe she realizes that Preston's days are numbered also, but you can't help but be like, I do trust someone who is literally taking the fall in this game for wanting me to be here.
Okay, cute. Keep him 2-3 or whatever, but like, I think there are people.
Well, I don't think that he's going to be at one very long. If
truly not.
Who should be her number one, in your opinion?
I think Erica and Nikki would be really good allies for Liv.
But have they showed that to her?
I mean, I think there's beginnings of it from this last round, and both of them had their vote. Like, yeah, I'm sure y'all will get there. Both of them had their vote, was extremely bold in keeping it. Like, yeah, bring in Michael. But like, I just hate that Preston is still number one. Hopefully not for long, because adios. But like, it's
yeah. No, he's not here again. Okay.
I do think that, like, that's such a good point. I don't really know who a better option for her for number one is. Like, she trusted Caro with everything, and Caro doesn't even call her to tell her she's going to evict her, and then fails to evict her like effectively. And now she has to like stay like basically in limbo with these people who she thought she trusted, who didn't, who all fucked her over, and other people who really haven't had her back, at least publicly. You know, they may have voted to keep her, but I mean, that is what it is. I understand you don't want to attach yourself to Preston potentially in terms of the sinking ship of it all, but I don't think that he would ever like willingly do anything to hurt her in the game, and I think she knows that.
That's the thing. She doesn't have many options. She thought she was tight with Caro. She thought she made a really great promise with Lamont, but both those people evicted her. So that's the thing. Like, as much as like, I think she understands that it's annoying that Preston left her on the block. Ultimately, well, it worked out for her. She's got a key in a round she desperately needed one. Megs is HOH, so like, it all worked out. So I think she can at least be, you know, results oriented and be like, all right, like, I had to fight for my ass because Preston had a bad read, and I had to literally beg Louise to not evict me, and it worked out. So I mean, as much as the intention was good, the execution very flawed. But let's now get into the last 2 days, because we have day 14 and day 15. Day 14 was their off day. There were just a few kind of storylines that came into from day 14 into day 15, so we'll talk about those. But just as a friendly reminder as to like what alliances are in the game, because we haven't done an alliance check-in in a minute. We have a good chunk, and then we have an additional 2 that get formed on day 15. But as of day 14, we have Black Coffee, which is Trey, Lamont, Jabbar. We have Whoop Whoop, which is Caro, Liv, Preston. We have Not For Lee, which is Preston, Megan, Trey. We have Daddy's Home, which is Caro, Megan, Trey. The Triple Threat Femmes, Megs, Erica, Sarah. The Cajun Angels, Caro, Liv, Michael. The Josh Pit, Erica, Preston, Megan. No Scrubs, Trey, Liv, Caro. New Skype conversation is Caro, Trey, Megs. Bathroom D is Megan, Caro, Trey, Jabbar. Almost, oh God, Jesus, Erica, Sarah, Liv, Preston. The United Nations, Preston, Nikki, Louise. The Baddies, Caro, Nikki, Louise. And the Furies, Liv, Preston, and Louise. Wow, did that all by memory? Go me. All right. I almost lost it there for a minute because Caro and Preston overlap so fucking much. It's hard to remember who's in what.
And then sprinkle in Trey.
And sprinkle a little bit of Trey in there. Mm-hmm. Good Lord, mess. All righty. Some few things to get to before we get to the train of thought of it all. Obviously, the big topic on everyone's mind is Louise as the flip vote. There are some initial suspicions that it is indeed Louise. Outside of Christian, who thinks it's Caro. But the House pretty much agrees that it's going to be Louise. I mean, Louise was very conflicted about the vote. That was no secret to anybody. So Louise eventually comes clean as the weekend progresses, just because people suspect it's them. So like at that point, like, why not come clean? And the thing is that Nikki is telling Louise, hey, everyone thinks it's you. And Louise is like, this is exactly why I flipped. When people who were pro-Liv were told, hey, Louise is actually evicting Liv, they were shocked. People like Preston and Liv were like, no, that can't be. Louise wouldn't do that. And now that there's been a flip vote with the pro-Rizzo people, the first thought in their mind is like, oh, it was Louise. And Louise is like, this is exactly why I voted the way that I did. Because clearly I was at the bottom of the pro-Rizzo people, which is what Nikki had been trying to tell them all along. That like, even if you vote with them, you're still on the bottom. And I think it even gets more so confirmed during Train of Thought. But Louise is very much like, see, this is exactly why I did what I did. And ultimately, Caro is really just trying to understand, like, what the fuck happened. Because Caro's like, you left, like, had I known you were going to save Liv, Caro would have flipped too. Because I don't think she was trying to burn her relationship with Liv that way. And Louise is basically making up a false story that she called Liv and Liv was crying and she just couldn't be the vote that sent Liv out. She pulled on the emotional heartstrings, and that's the story why Caro and Louise initially were like, we're not even going to call Liv. We're not even going to call her. We're just going to text her and ignore her because we know if we hop on call with her, she's going to convince us. So Louise creates this fake story about why she flipped to save Liv. That never happened because instead she was on call with Erica and then she decided to flip. Then she called Liv saying, hey, I'm flipping. So that never happened. But that's the story she's going with. But even though Louise has come clean, most people don't really care, to be honest. Most people, like, some people are like, yeah, like they care that like she flipped and like ran away and hid. But like ultimately, most people are like, I get it. She made a deal. She was conflicted. Like,
and
I get it.
Coming into last night, I know Megs is like, I wish we would have talked about it sooner. So like, but the off day kind of came at a crappy time for that.
For her, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
that's the thing. It's like, honestly, the only person, I mean, unfortunate luck for her, the only person who kind of had any care in the world was Megs, just because Megs never talked to Louise about it. It just felt like Louise flipped, dipped, never talked to Megs. So Megs was like, I liked Louise, and now she's just kind of like ignoring me. So it's unfortunate luck for Louise a bit to kind of get this H-Witch, because Jabbar, while yes, he won't forget this, like, I think he's more mad at certain other people, because I think Jabbar can recognize the fact that Louise was literally torn up about this. Lamont can accept the fact that she was very torn up about this. Pretty much everyone on that side would have done Erica and Sarah nominations. Louise would have been fine.
I think one of the things that is so interesting about the Louise of it all, and it was kind of indicative in how they really didn't care, they weren't surprised, or they're willing to throw a render, is once they secured Louise's vote, they really didn't talk to Louise.
No, they just kind of...
And I think that was a mismanagement on their part. Now, obviously, Louise is potentially the one that's going to pay the price for that ultimately, but they didn't get their way. Like, they didn't get... Like, they lost a valuable ally in their minds because they just mismanaged... I wouldn't even say mismanaged, but just, like, kind of neglected Louise. It's like they worked so hard. This team... the side, the pro Rizzo group, worked so hard on securing the votes and were largely effective in doing this. Even when they were losing someone, they were very keen on being able to know who else they could pull in, what their opportunity was. And unlike the pro Liv side, which literally babysat Louise on call so that she could no longer change her mind, they kind of just left her alone after they secured Louise's vote. And not saying you have to babysit, but like, you truly made Louise feel like she was just a means to an end in that moment, I think.
Yeah. I mean, valid. I mean, again, both sides very much needed her vote, and how they went about it necessarily wasn't I mean, that's why she's so fucking conflicted. Had people actually made her feel good about where she stood on that side, this wouldn't have been difficult for her. But I think she kind of realized, like, I have no relationship with the pro Liv people. All my relationships are with pro Rizzo, but I know I'm at the bottom of the pro Rizzo side, and I made a promise to the pro Liv side. The pro Liv side is shocked that I would flip. The pro Rizzo side clearly thinks if someone flipped, it's me. Like, both sides have pros and cons. Ultimately, I'm not that pressed where Louise voted. Sure, should she have been honest? Yeah. Definitely with how this HOH played out, she should have been. But obviously, had Jabbar raised his tiebreaker 7 points, she would have been fine. So, like, I can't truly fully fault it, because Lamont wouldn't have nominated her, nor would have Jabbar. Megan might not have either. So, like, realistically here, I can't be like too mad that like the one person on that side, Michael, wouldn't have. I think honestly, she would have been fine in the sense of she wouldn't touch the block. Yes, still a lot of damage control to do, still a lot of repairing to do. Yeah, I mean, still a lot of the problems she faced in 16. Definitely never got into something early. And once the narrative kind of came into place, middle of the game, she became a super necessary piece into the puzzle. So she needs to keep existing until new sides form, because right now how the current architecture is set up, I don't think this benefits her. I don't think this pro-Liv, pro-Rizzo side is good for her, because the pro-Rizzo side, she'll be at the very bottom. The pro-Liv side's a fucking disaster mess. So
yeah, I think Louise could be really instrumental if they do make it into the next round, where every number is going to be important.
Yeah, she needs to be at that point where, much like 16, it became, we need every person that we can grab, because it is
like
all hands on deck.
Winning is truly the most unlucky scenario for Louise, because Louise is someone, or Megs is someone that's also kind of liked by most people on both sides. But like you said, if someone wins even in the next round and Louise is still in the game, they're not taking shots at someone that just kind of flippy flopped in the middle. They're taking shots at someone who they know is actively against them. Mm-hmm. The problem is that even with what we're seeing, I don't know who would survive this vote out of the two of them, because I think that they don't care enough to nominate Louise, but it doesn't seem as cut and dry that Louise would survive this vote.
Well, and it's interesting. And Megs didn't want to win the HOH because she didn't want to have to she didn't have any great options. So like she had to go for this middle because she's so insulated and so good. So I think that it is a blow that way. And Megs didn't want to win the HOH, and we'll get to that, I'm sure. But
well, speaking of that though, I think that this has been great because we were talking a few rounds ago, like she needed, I personally think Megs needed to win again to be able to show people kind of who she's good with, and like show people and reassure those people, because there were people that definitely had doubts about Megs for rounds and rounds and rounds. I think that she mostly proved herself when she voted to keep Rizzo. But I think that now she can also prove herself to those people on the other side that maybe she didn't vote with. So I actually think she did need this. Maybe not like in the immediate, but I think it's really good for her game to have this, because her last HOH was not good. Like it wasn't bad, but it really didn't tell anyone anything. Like you went through this putting Liv up who you didn't want to put up, or who you said, I don't really want to put that up. You put Michael up, who you basically get like pity partied for, and then you backdoor Madison, which really like everyone would have done that. So
that's the thing. Like it didn't hurt her game, it was just fine. But against round two, like what do you want these people to do? Make a big stand in round two?
It's just not. I mean, it's just not great. Like to put up noms and immediately be like, I shouldn't have done those noms. Like, and I think that's where I think there was a bit of weakness or not weakness, but just like overall, just not a great HOH for her. Like stand by it, just make it very clean, cut and dry, get out of there. And she didn't have a clean HOH. But I think that this can be very clean for her. She has clear reasons. She's communicated those reasons. So I think she can get out of this very well.
Yeah, she can. I mean, it's ultimately just going to depend on how everything shakes up in terms of veto and in terms of what the group wants and all of that fun things. I mean, she has a target. It's a question of, will the side that she's on value that target? So we'll see. But as much as Louise is kind of like a little bit into trouble with how she played the flip vote, if anything, I think Caro is getting more heat. Caro is at the bottom of the pro Rizzo side. People are like, she's playing all sides. We see her for who she is. She's with us for now. But like, if the other side is to win HOH, she's going to go run over to them and do whatever she can to salvage what she has over there. Like, they're not dumb. She wishy-washied all fucking day. They know. They saw it. And Caro didn't give a response until she knew where the other 9 votes were going, so she could find her place and find her story for how she was going to slither through that vote. And she got caught up in all of it and didn't get what she wanted. She burned multiple bridges. She burned the entire pro-Liv side. She's lucky that Liv is willing to give her another chance. But Caro burned all of her capital up in one round. Obviously, unfortunate nom set for her, unfortunate situation for her where she kind of like there wasn't a clear majority that she could just slither into. She had to force her vote somewhere and make a stand, and she picked the wrong side. So Caro's spot is completely blown up, and a lucky HOH win for her side that she's able to kind of take a few days to hopefully rebuild and figure out what she's going to do moving forward. She's got to get into a better spot because this is not a great position for her.
I think yesterday was enlightening for Carol, which we'll get into with the train of thought. But I think it will be a day where she's going to replan and repurpose some of her fights. I think.
Yeah, I think train of thought is going to encourage some shakeups in the house. I'm intrigued to see how much of a shakeup it'll be, but we'll get through when we get there. Lamont has calmed down from the events of Friday. Lamont definitely had a pretty spicy end to Friday in terms of his call with Preston, where he told Preston, we will not be talking again. He had that call with Trey where he's like, Trey, I forgive you, but be fucking better. Like, get your shit
Choose
together.
me, pick me.
Choose me, pick me. Stop picking these other freaking people. Pick me. Lamont definitely this weekend chillaxed a bit more and realized that that's just not the way to do it. Like I get being upset. Trust me, he had all reason to be upset. He was lied to. Some of his closest allies did not choose what he wanted when he so badly was like, I just need one fucking vote to go my way, and none of my top people in Nikki or Trey are willing to vote the fucking way that I want. I get why he's mad. But I think he realized I don't need to get angry with people on call and get feisty with them. And I think he was like, you know what? Let me get back into the grass. And once it's time to pounce, then I'll pounce. But let me not let these people know that I'm angry right now. Let me catch them by surprise. So
he's sharpening his knife while he's waiting in the grass.
I think the thing about Trey though is it's like, as mad as you can be at him in the moment for not voting the way you wanted him to, like I was frustrated watching Trey send gifts to Black Coffee whenever they're trying to actually discuss the vote. But like, how mad can you be at him? Because if you look at this from the outside in, like he made the right choice, I think, for his game. He had a better game relationship with Liv. He told everyone what he was doing. Now the whole like, I don't think the votes are there, and everyone else is like, Trey, you are the vote. But then he just kind of started saying, he's like, well, I would rather save Liv to get rid of her later. Like and he was very upfront about what he was doing the whole time and why he was doing it, and he didn't give people false hope. Like, oh, we can count on Trey's vote. Like, no one ever went around saying maybe we can get Trey. Like, Trey is clearly not voting with us. That's fine. And I just don't know how mad you can be at him in the long term. However, Trey, what last night was like, I feel it is time for me to stop playing an upfront and honest game. Trey, I think that is the only thing upfront and honest you've done in this game.
His DRs are upfront and honest. Like, to us, he's very honest.
Sure, but like the whole, like, I'm telling everyone I'm saving Victoria and then I'm going to evict her secretly. It's just like there has been a lot in Trey's game so far that has not been upfront and honest. And while I don't have any issues with how he necessarily played the Rizzo and Liv vote, I think that he is setting himself up again for like some poor jury management, but also if he finds himself on the block, like some people could feel very scorned by some of the things that he's already done. Once Caro's game, and this is what he should be worried about, once Caro's game starts to unravel, Trey's game will also unravel.
They're interweaved.
So interwoven, and I don't think that he realizes that Caro's game is becoming undone a little bit, but also how much like mutually assured destruction. And he did not look out for her great, because the other thing is Trey knew that Louise was going to save Liv.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely.
And does not give Caro the heads up.
Nope. Well, then he flips it 180, and he knows how Train of Thought's going to end out in the end, and doesn't help out the side that he just voted to save Liv with. So like he very much he knows what he's doing. He is waging this war. He wants side to HOHs to ping pong back and forth so he can sit back and be pretty, because right now he's sitting fine with Bathroom D and Black Coffee that currently resides on the Rizzo side. And he voted with the Liv side. He feels great with Liv, so he's fine on that side. He's fine letting this HOH ping pong back and forth and let them target each other. He's just going to sit back. But eventually, we'll see how this new shakeup hopefully comes in terms of the results of Train of Thought and kind of where he ultimately has to find a spot for himself, because he doesn't necessarily find a spot for himself in what I believe the new architecture will start to form. He doesn't really have a spot in it. So
I don't think he realizes how close he could have been going up to that block, that he was in the last 4 to be like,
Still can.
Renommed, maybe. I don't think he realizes that he's in a precarious situation with this HOH.
Can. And if he goes up as a renom, I think there are people on the pro Rizzo side that would evict him. And there's no one on the pro Liv side of those voters that would keep him over the other 2 on the block right now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. We'll talk about it when we get there. I'd have to really think about it, because this pro Liv side is not it's not a united front by any means.
Yeah, but they're not gonna save Trey over one of them. Like, I just don't think that Trey has the relationships with them.
If it's Erica's eating Preston. She's tired of this narrative. Erica's for sure eating Preston.
I think I'm also operating more under the ability that it could be a Trey versus Louise final nom set.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I think that's way more likely than a Preston Trey nom set.
I see this being something Preston can win, but like, Louise could as well.
Yeah, but like
we'll find out.
We'll get to it when we get to it. Michael, very insulated. Again, a little bit of unfortunate luck in terms of how it plays out on Sunday, but pretty much almost no one is targeting Michael. He ultimately had no say in the last round. Everyone pretty much just like ignored him, rightfully so. You got no vote. You have no say in this. We don't really care what you have to say on the matter, honestly.
He played last round perfectly.
Yeah, you sat back, stayed cool. So he's pretty much cool with everyone. I mean, there's certain people who feel less good with him just because they have no working relationship, like Megs. But he's trying to still cultivate a BBH16 alliance despite Liv and Caro needing to repair what's there. He's also trying to insulate with Lamont and Jabbar on that side. While I know we all clown the BBH16 of it all. I actually think that's a way better place for him than with Jabbar and Lamont. Like Jabbar and he's at the bottom of Jabbar, Lamont, Megan, Megs. Like he's at the bottom of that. And
he's at the bottom, but like not someone they would target in this field.
Like so, you're not winning. You're not winning the game if you're playing with Jabbar, Lamont, Megan, and Megs. Working at least with the 16 people, I think those are actually with people who want to see Michael succeed more than just survive. Like they want him to do well. So I feel like as much as we clown the 16 of it all, I actually think that's a good spot for him right now.
Every single one of them is going to be targeted ahead of him.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So like
every single one of them will be evicted ahead of him if he is targeted for being on that side.
Their shields, but like as much as we clowned it a couple rounds ago because Caro and Louise and Liv had other things, kind of Caro, Louise, and Liv don't have much right now, and Michael's one of the few things that they mutually all have. So I feel like actually that's a good thing to have for him. So I'm hoping he actually pursues that further. But he's definitely insulated. Michael will be here for a while. Michael will definitely at least be a juror. Unless something absolutely wackadoodle happens during the split house next round, he should be fine. But again,
he should be fine.
The house, how Nikki splits the houses could doom him in a way. But I mean,
it could. But again, like he's someone that's good with a lot of people on both sides. Like truly, I cannot stress this enough. Michael played that golden key at the best time you could have played it if you were Michael, because I don't think anyone could have predicted how contentious that vote was going to get, because we didn't even know Rizzo was going to be up on the block at the beginning of that nom set. And to have two people, he basically were like his number one and his number two, and he didn't have to cast a vote nor even talk about the vote. Like, no one even talked to him about the vote, and he was left out of it, and therefore no one feels burned by him. It's just so good timing for him that he didn't have to be part of that or that discussion. Like, no one was like, what do you prefer? Because no one cared. And it's just so good. And so then Liv can come back and be like, you would have kept me, right? And be like, yeah, of course.
I can see a world where Michael is what happens to Jodie in the split house, where they have a target, the target wins veto, and it's, collateral of like, well, I don't want to lose someone else, and you're an easy cut. So I could see that, from 18.
I think the difference here from 18, though, is there are so many targets.
No, that's so true. I don't know. I was just trying to think of a world.
May have a target, but these voters all have targets, and they all have reasons to vote other people out.
Well, let's pretend, but it depends how Nikki puts up the houses. If Nikki puts Megan, Megs, Jabbar, and Lamont in the house together, along with Michael and someone else, one of the four
Christian wins POV.
Yeah, like it.
Yeah.
There are definitely situations where he's in trouble, but like in most, as long as Nikki doesn't make a house that's awful for him, I think he'll be okay. But like, we have to talk about the elephant in the room. That is the split house that's coming up in 2 days. So we'll know more once Nikki splits the houses, in terms of that. So we'll get there.
Nikki's thinking about it. Nikki took the whole off day and thought about the split houses.
Yeah, she's ready, and good prediction on. Preston really helped out with that when he suggested what happened in 18 could be what's happening because it's at 13. So it's an odd number. What are the odds? It's the same idea. So like, she definitely has her mind wrapped around what she would do, but we'll get to Nikki in a little bit. Last person to talk about before we get to the train of thought of it all is Jabbar. Jabbar definitely is trying to repair some things with people on the pro-live side, specifically Preston, and try to just figure out kind of like what happened with the flip vote and just try to figure out where he stands with people. Ultimately, Jabbar figures out that Preston knew Victoria told Jabbar about the Almost Alliance. So Jabbar knows that someone on his side leaked to Preston. I don't remember who would have been able to, who would have done that. Was it Caro? Mm-hmm. Okay, well, there you go. It's Caro.
That tracks.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Caro told everyone about every alliance, and honestly, everything that Jabbar has ever told her got leaked to either Preston or Rizzo or...
So Jabbar definitely is cutting some deals before this HOH, where honestly, he should have won this. Like, I don't... And I wasn't on the Final 14 HOH Alliance call that gets formed on Sunday for the HOH specifically. I wasn't on that call when they were discussing tiebreakers because 10 people were trying to get their shit together with like 3 minutes left.
They didn't talk about tiebreakers. Basically, Lamont's like, in 17, this is kind of what we did, and they all just kind of individually typed a number. So they didn't coordinate.
Because Megs and Jabbar were 7 off from each other. So it's like if they were trying to coordinate their tiebreakers in terms of like, all right, Lamont will be the closest in this like 100-point range, and then Megan will be close in this 100-point range. Like, they clearly didn't coordinate tiebreakers, but like they knew that those 4 would all have 110. So you're already at 440 before you get to anybody else in terms of anything else. So like, I just don't like why they didn't coordinate their tiebreakers better, but I thought for sure Jabbar would have won that. Considering they tried to give it to him and then the tiebreaker they didn't coordinate that when the whole point was to give it to Jabbar. I don't know, whatever.
All of them should have done 200, 300, 400, 500, like increments of 100. So it was like closer, something.
Coordinate more. I don't know, but whatever. It is what it is. But Jabbar was cutting deals. He told Preston and Liv that they'd both be good with him if he won HOH. He only would have meant it with Liv. He would not have meant it with Preston, but, it is what it is. But he was cutting some deals to be safe in case the other side won, because that's classic Jabbar for you. Cut deals, cut deals, cut deals. last thing before we get into the train of thought is this discourse around who leaked the alliance, who leaked almost, with how in what they are referring to, none of them did. Erica did leak the alliance to Megs, but Megs didn't tell anybody. No. So it didn't come from Erica to Megs. It comes out of the fact that Queen V is rolling in her grave, cackling from beyond, because she's the one who kind of clocks onto it through just natural conversation, her thinking, oh, the runners-up are together. And Sarah, Preston, and Liv all highly talk about Erica, so she might be involved in this as well. Just quickly clocks onto it, and she tells Jabbar, and that's how it gets out. Is Jabbar tells people.
The other thing about this, though, is like these people were so quick to confirm it.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, during
like they leaked their own alliance, because as soon as like any person like barely twists their arm, they're like, yeah, I'm in it.
Yeah.
And so they've leaked their own alliance. Like I think Erica went in and was like, somewhat the alliance has been leaked. And it's like, y'all did it. Y'all did it.
Is this the line for me? The alliance never really truly did anything in a sense of like coordinating or working or like future goals. So I'm like, you had one common thing that brought y'all together, but y'all didn't do shit with it in the game. So I'm like, they're probably like, yeah, I'm fine with it being leaked because I don't give a shit about it. That's kind of how I read it as.
Yeah, I mean, they're breaking apart.
Microwave.
You good?
It's not hot.
Did you not steam the water?
I didn't put enough water in because I put in too much milk.
Wah-wah.
Why are you airing this?
You're doing all this behind me. Anyway, you heard it here first.
One of the things that is so interesting about this is like, anytime there's something that you have in common, people are kind of going to assume that you might have something going, like the runner-ups, and then they're like, well, it's the people that were the runner-ups or the people that made it to the finale, and then Niki's kind of like, huh? But I feel like it's, and I know that there's the question of like who started almost, and like, because I think it was kind of more of a mutual starting of it or whatever, but
truly, who made Smiley?
Who made Smiley? Yes, who made Smiley?
Who cares?
I do think, and this is going to be very unpopular opinion, I think that Preston is getting a little too much heat, just in general. Like, I think he's getting heat for a lot of things that he has done wrong, but I do think that he is getting a little too much heat.
Oop, Kadri's
He's getting just enough heat. He's getting exactly what he deserves.
Okay. So here's the thing. I'm real pro Rizzo, and I'm really like upset of how that happened last round. But like, an alliance does take the number of people in the alliance. So the other people are also guilty of that alliance. Those people that leaked things are also guilty in that alliance. And even what Jabbar, like when Jabbar was promising safety to Liv and Preston, it's not Preston's fault that Liv survived. It's not Preston's fault that the Rizzo side feels blindsided. Yeah, it's Preston's fault that Rizzo went up. But there's a lot of things that group should be pissed at. Meg's winning. Preston is absolutely the right nominee for her. But these people still being so like, they have been obsessed with Preston since the beginning because of, I think, a lot of things were like their perception of him coming in. Like round one, they were obsessed, and I think keep going. Like a lot of this has been, we're taking Preston out, for this and this and that and the third. But I think that he's just getting a lot of like flack for the kind of the conglomerate, and we talked about a lot of people being scapegoated, and I think once you've been Preston and you've started to do some things that piss people off, it's so much easier to then pile everything else on that group has done wrong onto Preston.
No, I will agree with that in some sentiment. Like, I think he does get blame for being part of the alliance. He deserves that, especially with people who they felt good with him. And that's the whole crap. I mean, Lamont Lamont specifically told people he didn't want to be in alliances. So when he's all pissy that he's not included in the Almost Alliance and is so mad at Preston, it's like, babe, you specifically told people like Preston you didn't want to be in alliances. You can't be upset that he didn't include you.
Lamont, he didn't make the finale.
Oh my god! But like, he deserves to get some heat for that. But like, I do agree that like there was a lot of unnecessary frustration with him over the vote to save Liv when he didn't really do anything about it. Like everything that happened in terms of saving Liv had nothing to do with him. So I will give you that. But I think
in fact, like Liv almost didn't stay because people just wanted to spite Preston. Because Preston was like, I want Liv to stay. Well, y'all fucked that up. Because the thing is like, and yes, while Trey was very honest about what he was doing, once they were talking about these sides and, not wanting Preston to get what he wanted, and Trey's been so anti-Preston, like, those votes should have been real easy for your side. So while, like, you can respect the fact that Trey was really open and honest, or, the fact that Caro is struggling, or this and that, you all came in with this agenda beforehand, like, we are going to strong arm the Preston side. We are not going to let them get what they want. And then you do this fuckery. Like, this is not Preston's fault.
My question is, what has Preston done in this game to, like, not warrant, but like they're like holding him at, like, he's running the cards, he's the strategic mind of the season.
Day zero, in my opinion. I think he overplayed day zero, because in a typical, like, non-returner season in Oregon, sometimes in a returner season, I think it was Trey that said this, maybe Lamont, but like Preston gives a lot of platitudes in the beginning of the game because he just wants to, like, be really good with everyone. And in a lot of orgs, that works. In the beginning, like, you want to make sure you've talked to everyone because you don't want to be seen as inactive. Like, that is essentially what it is. You don't want to be seen as inactive. You want to be good with everyone in the sense of not like, I'm going to die for you, but you want to be seen as like, that person had enough of a relationship with me that they wouldn't nominate me. But when the twist happens that you split them and people have to go off of a lot less to do a lot more damage, you're thinking, Preston is only talking to me because he wanted to be safe, not because he actually wants to work with me. And I think because of that, like, that's translated more into, like, the fakeness, and there's been a lot of fakeness. It's not just Preston. Like, Lamont has been the fakest out there, but I think a lot of the day zero actions combined with the twist have led to what Preston is being kind of perceived as now.
Yeah, I don't know. For me, like, in his latest confessional, he talks about, like, I was voted out, literally. I battled back. I had the shittiest HOH known to man. Like, what more do you guys want from me? Like, I'm not running the table, as you can see.
Yeah. And
had he recognized his position, though, before his HOH reign, he may not have had the shittiest HOH. And I think that's the other thing is, like, he's taken a long time to recognize his positioning in the game, and that's not helped out.
I mean, yeah, it doesn't help. I mean, the fact that everyone's trying to figure out who leaked this alliance. Most people are saying it's Sarah. They think the dominating storyline is Sarah told Lamont, who told Victoria, who told Jabbar. Sarah's like, it sure as hell wasn't me, but people are saying Preston and Lamont were close, so maybe it was Preston who told Lamont, who told Victoria, who told Jabbar. Sarah at least gets clued into the rumor that it could be her, because I think Sarah wasn't fully aware that everyone was assuming it was her that was leaking it, so Erica let her know that. But that isn't also helping the situation, because now Sarah feels scorned by the alliance, being like, not you hoes thinking it's me when it wasn't me. So this Almost Alliance is dead.
It almost worked.
There's just no trust there, in terms of, like, who leaked it and all of that. There's just no trust, and then they all started pointing the finger at each other when it's none of them. It's truly none of them, so
which
that doesn't help.
We've talked about this for Liv, like, Liv trusts Preston and people like Caro because, like, what choice does she have? Sarah really doesn't have a lot of footing to be like, I'm no longer going to trust you. Like, what other choice do you have, Sarah? You have, like, I mean, and I don't mean that shady. Like, these people were the ones actually looking out for her. Like, you don't really have the agency either to be like, this group, I am no longer going to trust them. Like, where else are you going to go?
That's the thing. Does she recognize that she has no one? Because like her and Lamont didn't have a terrible relationship up until yesterday. So like, and maybe she's realizing it slowly but surely. But I don't think Sarah fully recognizes that she really has no other options.
I don't.
She's with these people if she likes it or not.
I don't think she realized until Megs is like, "You in danger, girl. You in danger." That like literally that other side, all putting you up.
I
think
Megs. You know, this is a very lucky HOH for her. And I think that with someone like Nikki splitting the houses, like Sarah has, I'm not going to say she's going to make it out of the split houses, but she has probably her best odds to make it out of the split house now.
Yeah, with Nikki choosing how to split them.
Than she would have had. And I still don't think those odds are like 50%. I think they're ish, but she can make it out, but she's setting herself up to be like a live night target or something like that, something very quick, very easy. So she may make it to the jury, but I think that she's in a really precarious spot. And I think that the prevailing thing is we've talked about this a lot in the prod chat, but I think that Sarah is just holding too much to the chest at this point. I think she's playing a little bit like, this is a bad comparison, but I think you're going to get what I'm saying. She's playing a little bit like Victoria played in 18. And that
18?
Or 19, Victoria.
I was like, I don't
know. Like Victoria played in 19. In that she's holding a little too much to her chest, and she has people she wants to work with, but she's not sharing a lot of that game information with people. And she's ultimately just going to make the decisions that are good for her. And I think that like that was an end to Victoria, but like we've seen this with some of the other early season returners. Ian is a very good example of this, is that people want to feel included in what you're doing. And if they can't read you, they are terrified by you. If they can't control you, they are terrified by you. And so I think she's really setting herself up for like a live night target, because people are going to say, we cannot coexist with someone we can't predict what they're doing. We can't control anything like that.
And that's the narrative for her. She didn't do a great job of laying the foundation. She had some good rounds and some not so good rounds. And right now a lot of people feel good with her in terms of their game foundation, and they would just rather eat her out because she's unpredictable for certain people, doesn't know where she stands in the game. Because a lot of people are like, I have no game relationship with Sarah. And then they're hearing about these alliances that Sarah's in. They're like, no, what the hell? Sarah scares them. So at this point, she needs a shakeup, because I just don't see her building a foundation naturally in the current architecture. She needs a shakeup where people need Sarah. They need her. So
it's extremely frustrating to see people this pressed by Sarah, and saying that like they are scared, intimidated by her, when there are other people that they should be scared of, that they are just letting skate by.
It's very much, though, Kadri, like a devil, like they've watched each other play, so they feel like they can predict each other's behavior.
But I mean, and to that point, like, sure, it's the devil, we know, whatever. When their asses are booted and sitting in the jury house and they're upset that Jabbar and Megs and Megan and anyone else in a great position have literally snuck by and moonwalked. I can't remember who said it, but moonwalked their ass to the damn final. Like, I don't want to hear it. You had every chance, and instead you're oppressed by someone who is just existing.
Yeah, I mean,
but she's not. I think the issue is that she's not existing with them. Like, she's not telling them what she wants to do in the game, and so you assume that she's telling someone. And especially now that you hear she's in this alliance, where you're like, well, she's telling her alliance these things. She's telling her alliance what she wants to do in the game, but she's not including me. And so I'm terrified if she wins power. So if I'm terrified if she wins power, the best way to like calm my own fear is to get her out.
And she didn't help her case on Sunday, but let's get there because we've spent far too much time on the pre-agenda. Not going to blame certain people, but Lee. Just kidding.
You're not wrong.
We'll move on to the train of thought comp. I mean, the agendas of each HOH, we're still at a point where a lot of them are very different. I mean, we've already talked about it. Most of the pro Rizzo side would nominate Sarah and Erica with the potential to maybe backdoor Preston, or just to make him choose between Sarah and Erica. Like, all right, well, who are you more loyal to? Prove it. So like there's talks about Preston backdoor, but Sarah and Erica are pretty much most of the consensus nominations from everyone on the pro Rizzo side. Just a little bit of difference of opinions as to like who would flush the powers versus who wouldn't, like who would get to keep their power. Like in terms of Jabbar, like would he let Liv get to keep her power and would he flush Niki's power? Who is to know? On the other side is definitely not as unified. I think you've got Liv and Trey, who definitely would nominate Christian in some shape, way, or form. Caro is also considering Sarah and Erica as potentials as well. Louise is considering Megan, Sarah, Preston for herself. Michael and Nikki aren't really trying to win. Sarah,
as they shouldn't.
No idea what Sarah would do, but Sarah's in this position where she doesn't really trust her almost alliance, but she doesn't really have anyone else on the other side. Erica's trying to distance herself from Preston, but hasn't had the opportunity to do so yet. So, like, a lot of different agendas. And of course, it works out where the one side wins, where almost everyone would do the same thing except Megs. Except Megs. So, truly poetic in the way that it always works out that way, where it just always has to be that one anomaly that we have to talk about instead of like the consensus decision. But
they should all be happy she won so they can have a chance to win at this split house. Right? Like, or do we have one more round before that?
No, the split house is next round.
So they should all be happy they're not outgoing, because outgoing into a small house, it's not good.
But they don't know that. They don't know what the twist is. They're just assuming as such. Which fair read. But they have no clue what it actually entails. But let's get to the train of thought competition. Want to give a lot of props to the pro Rizzo side. I think they really got together, got organized.
They spent the whole day.
Yeah, like they worked on it. Like they, as much as the pro Liv side, like I don't have I don't know what the word is, but I don't have an opinion on the war. Like I don't really have a side that I'm like inherently rooting for more than the other. I don't. I like people on both sides. There are people on both sides that I'm intrigued by and I want to go further. At the end of the day, Pro Rizzo got their shit together. They made a group chat together called Final 14 HOH, which was Megan, Megs, Jabbar, and Lamont. They Jabbar also got Caro in line and said, "You're going to be working with us. Do not tell the other side shit." Lamont got Michael in line, said, "You're not going to be telling the other side shit," and it paid off. Michael knew certain people's directions, and when Liv was on call with him, he did not share them. He was like, "Oh yeah, they're not talking to me at all." When Michael fully knew some of their directions. It didn't help that Trey, who isn't necessarily on that side per se, but he's kind of like blending in the middle, didn't help out either. When Liv and Trey were discussing all their directions, Trey specifically left out directions he knew as well. They gathered the girlies and got a majority of people together that were working in favor of them, so they could ensure that they had the truth. They had more people. When you have more people on your side, you have more combinations you can run. You have more people who could lie if you want people to lie and screw over the other side. So I just really think that they really got it together. My one issue with them is they discussed all day about this idea of like lying to the other side and like, would we be willing to flip last minute? yada yada yada, and then like they didn't really employ the strategy. Like Megan brought it up so many times, like one person lying is so easy to track. Multiple people lying is way harder to track. There's like you get into the position of there are too many lies to keep track of, because everyone's natural assumption when something doesn't go right is to be like, all right, one person lied, and they go, okay, this one person, if I change this one person's direction, then my stuff works out. And then you check with another person, they go, oh no, that doesn't make sense for my personal direction. So once you realize that 2, 3, 4 people lied, it gets almost impossible to figure out who actually lied. And I think that's a real big misstep here for them. And I think it's going to change the architecture of the game, not necessarily in favor of them. So that's my one issue with them, is I think that they did everything right up until they didn't employ the strategy that they knew was the right way to go, which was just to lie. Like Louise just flipped and lied to y'all. They all knew that Louise flipped and didn't tell y'all. Lie fucking back. You owe these people nothing. You were so
especially
angry.
They're scorned.
You were so angry on Friday, and like be mad. So it's just I was a little shocked by
it. Was funny. Lamont was like, I'm not going to tell anyone anything all day. And so like he starts that conversation with Jabbar. And then near the end of the competition, Jabbar goes, so you haven't told anyone, right? And Lamont goes, no, I did. He goes, I will be lying now, but I did. Oops.
Yeah, like it just that was my only issue. That was my only issue with them. But overall, like otherwise they got organized early. They got the group chat together. They gathered people early. So the final like hour stretch sure was still stressful for them, but it wasn't as stressful as it could have been.
They had the group chat made well before Scramble, you know.
Yeah.
Still want to give them some props because I feel like they deserve it. They won.
So. Oh, absolutely. And there's nothing more vindicating than getting that HOH after you all got blindsided. I think the thing that they did a little sloppy here is making that group of 4 and then trying to coordinate things like to where, you know, we'll talk more about this, but Caro and Michael very correctly clocking that there's a group that they're not included in now that was dictating this. And I think that if you were going to create a group that the purpose was just for doing the train of thought, maybe just include Caro in it, you know, for that. And then if you really are saying we want to only work though with this group or whatever, then do that. Like make some onion of it, because it is not hard, as we've seen, for people to clock based on how people talk that certain groups exist.
And they did. But there was a point where I think Megan and Lamont were like, oh, we should put in Michael and Caro into this group, a second one. And I think Megs shuts it down. She's like, not interested. Don't want it. Don't trust it. Don't need it.
Yeah. I mean, because that's the thing. This group talked and they knew that Caro and Michael were for the better good. And Megan was like, I mean, it wouldn't be the worst thing if Michael in the situation. Megs is like, no, we're not doing that. Like one of us 4 is winning. Megs was like, yeah, no, we're not doing that. So that's the thing.
And she's right for that. Like Michael is a very impressionable person. Not a bad thing, just very impressionable. Yeah. And if you tell him what he needs to or wants to hear in the moment, like he will completely abandon the progress.
Living Caro would have influenced his nom set once again.
Oh, absolutely. So like Megs is right for that. And Michael did not need this HOH. He doesn't need to be HOH for a little bit.
His 0 was a perfect place to sit at.
Yeah, did just fine. So, but overall, like, good on them. I think Louise has a little bit of a misstep today. Louise was very busy with personal life, and I think people took it as Louise hates us. Louise flipped, and now Louise doesn't even want to talk to us, when in reality, Louise was literally with family all day. So, like, it came across as Louise is with the other side. They're not talking to us. But in reality, as soon as Louise gets back online, she's honest about everything. Like, she tells the other side everything they need to know in terms of her personal direction and all that fun stuff. But it didn't help that Louise was a little busy after, flipping the vote on Friday. So there's that. I mean, the truth, the pro live side discusses getting a group together, but they're more so focused on still hashing out last round more than focusing on the current HOH. And like, they don't really start getting themselves together until like within the last hour of the comp, when they finally make an alliance. They make the Scramble Alliance, which is Liv, Erica, Nikki, and Louise. They form that with like 30 minutes left, and it's a clusterfuck. So they just were not prepared. They didn't really discuss lying. They all told the truth. They all were honest about what they were getting, and it didn't help that the Final 14 HOH Alliance has, pro-live connections. They also have Bathroom D, which has Trey in it and Caro in it, that they can get their information of what they're hearing from the other side. So it didn't help that they could cross-reference everything that they needed to. But basically, with like the last hour to go, there's a lot happening. Megs and Lamont haven't been super forthcoming about their directions. They're starting to come forward. Sarah switches her direction,
which makes Jabbar go, the hell, huh? And like spirals just a touch.
She doesn't switch it to be malicious. She just realizes there's so many lefts, and in order to have a good score, there needs to be an additional right in the mix. So she switches her direction, not because of anything to be malicious. She just realizes, if I'm a left, I can't score well. I need another right. That's all.
The final 14 HOH was like, she's after us. She wants us out. She's doing this to end our life. Like,
so it doesn't help that people already feel crappy with her, and that entire side does not feel good with her. And then she flips with like, I think she tells Lamont with an hour to go, but I don't think he realizes what's happening because Lamont didn't really invest the time to learn the challenge. She's kind of just like sitting there being like, just tell me what to do. So he knew way longer, but then Sarah starts to slowly roll out that information. By the time like Jabbar and Megs get it, it's like 30 minutes left till the comps. Like they fully took that personally. I was like, oh, this was an attack against us. That's fucked up. So didn't help, but Sarah was honest. But those are kind of the narratives going around. And then we get to like the final 30 minutes of like, what are they going to do? Like, are they going to switch? Is anyone going to switch? None of the pro-live people even consider it. I think Louise is like, I will not switch my mind because I just fucked over half the house by lying last time. Let me not do that here. Nikki's like, nope, I'm going to stay true to what I want. Sarah's like, I'm going to be truthful here. Erica doesn't want to have to be the one to lie. Liv's like, I'm not in a position to lie. Which, again, I don't get why you want to appease the other half of this house. Like, you just voted against them. They're mad at you. You don't owe them shit. But the pro-live side doesn't want to do it. In the end, the final 14 HOH Alliance decides that Lamont's going to flip. Not tell anybody, but they're going to flip. So I wish they had done more, because immediately once the results come out, it takes 5 minutes for the other side to be like, all right, well, Lamont lied. It took them 5. All right, well, if I flip Lamont's direction, yep, mine works. Does your works? Oh, your works too? Oh, yours works? Oh, okay, so we know what happened here. I don't know why more of them didn't lie. I don't understand why more of them did not lie. But you know what? It is what it is. I wish they would have, but only Lamont's.
I had this exact same question in 16. Why didn't more of you lie?
So
I get it.
It gets so much harder to have to like, because that's the thing. Once you test one person lying, maybe if you test even 2 people lying, at that point people are gonna be like, fuck it, it's not worth it to me. It's not worth it to me to try and figure out who lied. What group of 3, 4, 5, 6 people might have lied to me? It just is not worth it to people.
He was screaming into the void, do 2, do 3, everyone lied. Like they were just like
more.
Yeah, I think the thing that we underestimate a little bit in why people don't lie, though, is a lot of times there are people that just don't want to win. And so they want like the clear knowledge so that they can make sure they don't win. I think if you had a group of all people that, like, all things equal, like if you say this is just a comp and your objective of this comp is to win and end point, you have more people winning because the only thing involved in that is winning that comp. But I think because of the ramifications of like being HOH and everything like that, I think that when you have different like motivations to even win the comp, that does make it harder.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't help that I mean, Chris Yu tanked his entire game by lying. Kadri put himself in a position that wasn't great by being a liar. But like when you're the only liar, that's not good. But like that's the thing. Megan and Jabbar tried to say it. Like if we have more liars, then like they're not going to know who lied, so you're not going to get ostracized, and they just didn't take it up.
I think it works out for you if you end up being the only person that lies about it. If you completely just be honest about it.
Well, like, Hammond was the only person that lied, and he won. So
yeah, and it worked out. Yeah, like he said, yeah, I lied because I wanted to win, and I won. So, oops.
Period.
But
I lied because I wanted to get other people out, and I needed them to lose.
Did it work?
It did work.
Yeah,
there you go.
And I was honest about it. I was like, "Yo, I lied," and people were like, "Oh, okay. Like he lied. Great. Let's move on." Except for Bridget. And she got evicted for it, so that's her fault.
Love you, Bridget.
But I do want to give some props to the Scramble Alliance, which is Liv, Erica, Nikki, and Louise. I do want to give credit to Nikki and Liv specifically, who clock on to the right strategy here. Erica's like, I don't trust that they're all telling us the truth. Liv and Nikki are like, well, there's 4 of us, so if we pick 2 people who we think are the most untrustworthy, we can do 4 different combinations that account for every combination of they both lie, they both tell the truth, or each of them, only one of them is lying. So Nikki and Liv really lead that charge in that group of like, all right, you're doing this combination, you're doing this combination. And good read on Erica to say Megs and Lamont are the 2 people that she trusts the least to tell them the truth. So they did end up with one person who had the correct combination. I think it was Liv, who had the right combination of Megs is telling the truth, Lamont is lying. So I think great read on them to not all do a similar path. Because if you all do the similar path and are wrong in your assumption, then you're all doomed. But I think a great read there to spread out your options in case there are liars. But ultimately it comes down to tiebreaker with the 4 people in the final 14 HOH Alliance, and then tack on Liv, who has the right combination through good reads. But Megs wins the tiebreaker. And this is kind of where everyone can see, Lamont lied, and all 4 of you knew this. Liv gets it because they have a group of 4 who can do multiple combinations and are assuming people are going to lie to them. But all 4 of you knew Lamont lied. All 4 of you knew. Yeah, and Caro's not included. Michael's not included. Christian can't play, but like Christian didn't know. Not like he cared, but like Christian wasn't included either. Like they can see like, y'all got something together, and it doesn't include us. And it's kind of the same trouble that Dan, Hammond, and Ange got into when Hammond lied, but Dan and Ange still had a really great score, indicating that they had to have known a little bit that he lied. So people know that they're together. It's just a question of, will they do anything about it? People have discussed it, being like, I'm a little annoyed that they're in a group chat together, clearly, and they all trust each other. So we'll see what works out for them in terms of will people shake up the game. People like in the middle, like Michael and Christian, have talked about it. Caro's brought it up. So like, do we see a new side form? Do we see some new house architecture to take a shot at that for? Because everyone got all pissy about the almost foursome. Do we care about this foursome? I don't know. But Megs is the HOH. Truly awful luck for people like Michael and Louise, who are now in danger of touching the block when, under most circumstances from that final 14 HOH group, they would have been fine. Amazing luck for Sarah and Erica, who absolutely would be on the block right now, but are safe.
And good on Megs to tell them.
Yeah. So like Megs hops on a couple calls, Caro, Jabbar, and all she's hearing is Erica, Sarah, Erica, Sarah, Erica, Sarah, put up Erica and Sarah. And Megs is like, yeah, can't do that. Like, they're not threats to me. They're not in a great position. I want to go for bigger fish.
All of her allies.
Yeah, like a great like segue to be like, no, I just don't think that they're that like of that side. Sarah and Erica aren't the threats here. Like, I want to take a shot at bigger threats. So I think a good segue for Megs to kind of hide their relationship by making this more of like, nope, we're going to take a big shot.
Also, no one's mad at her for saying no. No one's mad at her for saying, I'm going to do my own thing.
That's the thing. And when she said Preston and Louise, this whole house was orgasm. They're like, oh, yes.
It was almost like they thought they could never get that
That's
result.
the thing. That's the thing. I think they were all suggesting Sarah and Erica as like, we're not going to target Preston, but we want to take a number from Preston. And Meg's like, I'll just put Preston up. They're like, oh.
But they're all I can't be the one to nominate Preston. I can't be the one to nominate Louise.
Yeah, exactly. Like, they were like, oh, that's amazing. We love that nonsense. Like, Megan's in love with it because she possibly would evict Louise here. Like, they all wanted Sarah and Erica, but I think they actually preferred to see Preston on the block. So they were very happy to hear that. So,
none of them can be mad because they didn't win the tiebreaker. That's what I want to say. But
you're safe. Be happy you're safe, and let's move on.
Exactly.
The initial discussion between the group was to publicly flush both the keys for Liv and Nikki, to just flush them both. The plan was for Megs to go to the main chat and be like, at Liv, at Nikki, I'm going to nominate you if I don't see that you've played the keys. But then let's talk about the Nikki call.
Such a good call.
Nikki's fighting for her damn life to keep this key. And Nikki is like, you can flush my key all you want, and you can flush Liv's key all you want, but that means the legacy key is going to go to the person that survives this vote, meaning you're going to give the key to someone like Preston or Louise. If that's what you want, you can do that. Or you can cut a deal with me right now that I use the power in favor of you. And I think great read. And Meg's like, you know what? You're right. I'll let you keep the key. You can have the power. And then Nikki goes, and just by the way, if you're thinking of trying to like fuck me over here and blindside me, I can transfer the key before my eviction and give it to someone you really don't like Liv. So don't try it, by the way. Like, you can't evict me with it. So you're gonna have to honor the deal, by the way. I was like, damn, fuck, like savage. I love that. Be like,
such a good play.
You're thinking trying to backstab
and
me.
It doesn't come off as threatening.
No. Like it's a threat.
It's just very matter of fact. Like, this is gonna get played one way or another.
Yeah, I think this legacy key will exist in this house. It's a question of who do you want to have it? Me?
I think what makes me so overcome with all the emotions and the feelings is that this conversation comes off of two horrible HOHs and just a horrible round. So finally we're seeing some all-star gameplay.
Yeah, great.
You know, like this is incredible. And Meg's real recognize real. You know what? You're totally right. Let me stop.
Because it could have been so easy for Nikki to roll over and be like, all right, you want to flush my key? That's fine. I'll go to the top 13. I'm safe. What do I care? But Nikki said, no, I'm going to fight for this legacy power. I want it.
And it's such a testament to Megs as a player too, that like Megs for the first time that someone can be like adaptable and say, I'm hearing what you're saying and I'm going to play around this. Because a lot of these people beforehand on these HOHs are like, well, I'm so sorry. I've already told, everyone inside and outside of the house that I'm doing this and therefore I have to.
Yeah, exactly. Like I mean, we see it with Preston last round where Rizzo's spitting facts and Preston's like, I wish we would have talked earlier because I've already told everyone what I'm doing. Like so many times we've seen these HOHs say to half the house what they're going to do, and then they feel like they can't go back on it because they've already told everyone what they're doing, and they're not really listening to what the person in front of them is saying. But here, Meg said, I'm going to flush these keys, and then immediately goes, you know what, Nikki, you're right. I'm not going to flush your key, and goes back to her group and says, change of plans. I'm not flushing the key anymore. I'm letting Nikki have it because it makes way more sense for Nikki to have it than Liv to have it or whoever survives the block to have it. Like, it just makes way more sense that way. And the group is fine with it. Like, as much as Lamont's angry with Nikki, Lamont still has a relationship there. Jabbar, as much as he's tried to evict Nikki, has been upfront and honest with her, and hopefully that means something to Nikki. Like, they're not angry with it. And I think it's a great read on Megs, and Nikki is fully planning when she has the legacy power to help Megs in any way, shape, way, or form she can. So I think great play for Megs, who will be outgoing HOH, and hopefully will get put into a house that benefits her next round. when Nikki has to split the houses. So Meg's fully anticipating Liv to flush the key, so then she will nominate Louise and Preston. Liv, I don't know what was fully happening there. I don't know, but Meg's hopped on call with Liv, and Meg's is like, I won't nominate you in any circumstances, which I think Meg's is just saying because she fully expects Liv to use the key, because the key is worthless unless she uses it. Like, if she tries to keep it, it's worthless because Nikki has the older key. But Liv, I don't think Liv was ever actually contemplating not using it, but I think she was just confused why she felt the need to have to use it, because Meg's told her to use the key. And Liv's sitting there being like, well, you told me you wouldn't nominate me, so why should I have to use the key? Like, I lose my vote, and I can't play in veto if I use the key. But, like, you're saying you won't nominate me, so, like, I have no reason to use the key. And we're just like, Liv, babe, just use the key. Just use the key. Just use the key. And luckily, Liv, I think, is like, fuck it. I'm just not going to take the gamble. Like, Meg's nominated you at Final 17. She's going to nominate you here. She's going to nominate you here. So, good read on Liv to use the key. Louise and Preston are going up. She doesn't like that Louise just kind of flipped the vote and hid. Preston has just, they've never seen eye to eye. And Preston is her target. She did tell Sarah and Erica that they're in big danger and that they need to kind of fix their game. Our renom is either Michael or Trey. We don't really know yet. She has no game relationship with either and feels like she didn't initially nominate them because her allies feel really good with them. So it's really just they're not on the block right now because my allies like Michael, my allies like Trey. But, like, do I have any personal relationship with either of them? No. So
why isn't Christian an option?
I guess he's done just enough.
They have a good enough relationship, I think.
Good enough.
Megs likes Christian and thinks he'll protect Megs, so she doesn't want to cut a bridge, I think.
I think Christian is, like, next. Like, if there was a need for a fifth person, I think Christian's the next person on the list. So, like, okay. Christian is not in a great relationship with Megs, but better than Michael, Trey, Louise, and Preston, I guess. So, like, Christian's done enough with that relationship to be okay here, which good for him because he needs to put that HOH he had behind him and move on. So we have Louise and Preston up on the block. Our veto draw was Michael, Caro, and Lamont. Michael's not winning the veto. He's already competed. He's not winning. So we're not even going to focus on what he would do with it, but he would save Louise. But that's not going to happen.
No.
I assume Caro, Lamont, and Megs all keep them the same. I know Caro has a good relationship with Louise, but if she suspects that Louise would stay over Preston, I don't think she has any necessary need to use it. And then obviously the nominees will save themselves. So I think we're in a position where if it ain't the nominees winning, it's not being used. If the nominees were to stay the same, I feel like Preston gets yeeted here. I can't imagine Lamont, Jabbar don't fight like absolute hell to get rid of them. Additionally, there's only 10 votes because
Preston survived this vote. I
don't think there's a way he does. I'd be shocked.
No, I'd be so shocked. Like, I'd be absolutely done with this season.
There's no way he does. Like, Jabbar and Lamont have been trying to yeet this man for generations. Like their grandkids will hear about this story. Like, there's no way. No way.
Not the grandkids.
There's no way he survives this vote. Especially in the fact that there's only 10 voters now because Liv's out. And Megs would break the tie not in favor of Preston. So I can't imagine Preston finds 6 votes to save him here. It feels like a must-win for Preston.
He had a mental drawing list today, and I don't think he has it realistic.
It's something. It's a list.
Yeah.
It's a list of people on the cast.
There's names
that don't necessarily agree with where they should be in those columns. So there's
2 of them are correct. 2 for sure are correct.
Megan will definitely vote to save him.
No, I meant Christian and Lamont.
Oh, and Christian and Lamont will definitely vote his ass. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Megan will save him. Those are the 3 he has right. Everything else is wrong. Yeah, I don't see a world in which Preston stays here if he remains on the block. Luckily, I think this is a veto he can win. Luckily, I think this is a veto he is here I say the odds-on favorite to win. I think Megs stands a chance to win. I think Louise stands a chance to win. I don't see Caro or Lamont doing well in this, just because I think that math is not their strong suit.
It's even if it is your strong suit, it takes a little bit to get there from what I've seen from the challenge. Like, you know?
Yeah, so I think Preston's the odds-on favorite to win. In my opinion, based off of what I've seen in their comp ability over their org career, I think Meg stands a chance as well, as does Louise. So I'll be intrigued to see kind of if there's a renom. Will it be Trey? Will it be Michael? Which then is very intriguing in terms of like if Trey or Michael ends up against Louise, how that shakes up, because you've got then the split house that would then have to vote between them, and then Meg's. I don't know. Megs doesn't have a bad relationship with Louise. She really likes Louise. And if they talk it out, I could see Megs flipping the other way and evicting Michael or Trey here. But I'd have to think about the votes and where the votes actually stand in terms of Louise versus one of the noms. But yeah, I think if Preston remains on the block, it's GG's. No matter who he's up against. Michael, Trey, Louise, it's over for him. But if it's Michael or Trey versus Louise, I think that's way more interesting of a vote. And could very much end near 5-5. And I don't think Megs's tiebreaker vote is locked up right now. I could easily see Louise swaying her and having Megs evict the person next to her. So
she's
I'm rooting
her...
for Preston to stay, but like I think the vote's way more interesting that way.
I agree. Megs is in her DR saying, you know, I want to make a big move if the noms are changed, and I'm not afraid. I was like, oh, okay. So I'm kind of here for it just to see what move that is. So curious to see.
Yeah. Sorry, let me respond to Ramon. Anytime you want in there works. Just let me know. Yeah, so it's super intrigued by what's going to happen today. Must-win situation for Preston, but if Preston's able to win and keep this Preston-Liv duo ship that keeps winning with their back against the wall alive, that'll be it's team TV. So I'm super intrigued to see kind of how all of this shakes out today. So Preston's actually the last person to compete, so he'll know if he wins as soon as he competes. I'll tell him if he wins or not. He'll be the last one to go. So stick with us today. We have Lamont going in the mid-afternoon.
In like a half hour-ish.
Let's see. What did he actually agree to? Because he can go anywhere. 12:30 works. Oh, yeah. So literally in a half hour. Sounds good. See you in 25. So Lamont will be going in 25 minutes. And then everyone else is like stacked at the end of the day. So it's like back to back to back of Caro, then Megs, then Louise, then Preston. So a lot of activity from 5:30 to like 7:45 in terms of results. And then from 7:45 to 10:30, 11, we'll have the renom. So lots to look forward to today. If we get a renom situation, if Preston comes off and get a new renom, that'll be very intriguing to see how that gets played out on top of them having an off day tomorrow. So an extra day for the final nominees to campaign if need be. So stick with us. Lots of fun in store. If Michael goes against Louise again, that would be an awful storyline. I think based on what Megs is saying, it'll be Trey. I really do think it'll be Trey. Going up and not Michael. I think Megs realizes that Trey is just so secretive with her. And like she's not afraid. I think that message about her not being afraid is in relation to Trey.
Well, she's like, why do I keep protecting Trey? She said that last night in her DR. So I'm like, interesting.
Yeah, like I truly think it would be Trey here, and not Michael. But we'll have to see again. Like she'll have to talk to people like Jabbar and Lamont and see like if they're happy with it, and have to weigh like is she willing to piss them off? All that fun stuff. So who is to know? Still a fun day ahead. Preston might not even win the veto, and it doesn't fucking matter. And this vote's locked up and done, and we can move on with our lives. But fun stuff today. Tomorrow's the off day, and then Wednesday we'll have our eviction, and then Nikki will hop on call, and break the house into twos, and then I would imagine she'll keep herself safe in that situation. But who knows? Maybe Niki's a gambler and will put herself in a house. Who knows? So lots of fun things as we ramp up for this eviction, the split house at 13, where we'll send 2 people home to get to 11, and then live night on Sunday. So a jam-packed week of stuff to get us from 14 to 10 in just 6 days. So be there or don't be there, I guess. I guess that's the thing you can do. Alrighty.
It's not working. Boo.
Any last comments before we peace on out?
Go Liv.
Yeah. No, I'm rooting for Liv and Nikki. So I mean, they are my draft team as well, but they are just two of the most intriguing. They're just the 2 most intriguing characters right now. Like Liv has had what a storyline, and Nikki is
a story.
And Nikki is just playing balls to the wall now. She do not care. She is so good right now. You let Nikki out of the early game, and now the game is actually more based in strategy than just who you have good relationships with. This is where Nikki munches the game. She can tell you strategically what makes the most sense, and with people like Megs who can listen and reason, it works so well.
I'm trying to remember the last time I rooted for this many women, and I'm drawing a blank because it.
Are you a Golden Girls fan or like?
I am a Golden Girls fan, so like maybe that was like the last time, but like. Yeah, I just can't think of a time where especially publicly, say, yo, man, the women are eating, non-men are eating, and I'm loving it for them. Yeah. And but don't touch Michael. You can touch every other man in this house, but don't touch Michael.
Oh gosh, I'm gonna lose a draft pick this round. I'm pretty sure that's my bold prediction.
Who do you have? You have Preston.
Trey and Preston.
Oh yeah, well, someone. Well, maybe not. Louise might go here, but it's not. Who's to know? Who's to know? But yeah, I'm still rooting for Jabbar as well. I'm loving Jabbar. Absolutely brainwashing half this fucking cast. Like, I mean, I have to stand as much as it's annoying from a like, how are you letting him do this to you? He's such a good player. Are y'all dumb? I have to stand. He's playing well.
Same. I have to stand. And like as someone who was gooped and gagged by, granted we were in an alliance and that was always going to be the end goal. Just don't do it.
He's playing in their faces.
And they're doing absolutely. I will never get over him going into his DR or whatever. It's like now I have clarity. And me just being like, now who the fuck gave this man clarity? Who approved this? Who approved this? Now you're about to find out. What's the old man saying?
Flock around, find it.
There's a lot of people I'm rooting for. There's a few people I'm not, just because they're not playing well, and I will always root for people playing well. That's just my nature. I like to
only have a short list.
Well. I want, and again, people can change it around and change my opinions. Like one round don't define you. So Christian, for you. You had a bad round last round. Megs is giving you reprieve this round. Let's make something of it now. Let's turn it around. Let's turn it around. Let's get yourself to jury and let's fucking make a better game of yourself. Like, let's do that. Preston, if you and Vito tonight, babes, let's get it fucking together.
You better work.
Like, get your shit together. Liv, babes, love you. Get your shit fucking together. Let's get some more people. Let's change your game up. Like, I want people to do well. Let's get it together, people. So we'll see what happens. Plenty of game to play. We're still at the final 14, so who the fuck is to know who's going to win this game at this point? Like,
God, final 14.
I know
we've been playing this.
We've been here for 3 years. It feels like
we've only evicted 4 fucking people,
which is insane because this is more storyline than
my whole season.
Season 17.
Oh, get out of here! Season 17 is so good. I don't care what you say.
Season 18 didn't have this much storyline.
No,
season 18 was outside of the winner.
It was just two sides going at each other. They had some fun moments, though. I still like 18. It's just not my favorite season in the whole wide world. But that's okay. Not here to shit on 18. If we're gonna shit on the season, let's shit on 19. Anyway,
18's doing it for itself. We don't need any more help with it.
Anyway, we're gonna peace on out. We'll be back We'll be back. Yeah, I'll probably be back tomorrow. Maybe it depends how much intriguing shit there is to do tonight. Like if Preston loses, like what is there to
be quiet?
Yeah, if Preston loses tonight, there's not really much to talk about. I think it's pretty locked up and loaded. So maybe I'll default till Wednesday. So I'll keep you posted for back tomorrow. But for me, for Kadri, for Ashley, and
for Ashley,
for Lee, who left early, rude. We're peacing on out. Bye, everyone.